Planned procurement management is the process of documenting the procurement decisions, specifying how we are going to buy, the approach, whether a bidding process, the selection criteria, شو هن السكورينج needs for us, شو هن الويتس اللي بدنا نحطهم على كل scoring element, مين البوتنشال بايرز الموجودين بالسوق، شو في بالماركت, and determining whether to acquire from inside or from outside. And if so, what to acquire, how many, how much is needed, etc. So it might include the following activities like why make, why don't we buy, why don't we rent, why don't we lease, like those make or buy analysis, planning for procurement, creating the statement of work, شايفين statement of work, request for proposal نبعته تيجينا replies. وقت بيجينا replies, her request for proposal فيه يكون مقسوم ل 2 documents. The general guidelines, how to submit the envelopes, how you will be selected, CVs formats, etc. The statement of work that could be part of the request. It's the specific work to be accomplished on this contract. The technicalities, مثلا عم ببني بناية، بدي هالنوع الأبراج، بدي 600 متر كهرباء، etc. For the actual work, the request for proposal has general information for every procurement need. The statement of work is specific services and products and results that you are acquiring. So also creating the statement of work, selecting the contract type. It's going to be lump sum, time and material. It's going to be cost plus incentive. Any type of contract أحسن لهالproject. راح نشوفهم in details. Creating the procurement documents needed, كله templates, assessment sheets, etc. And determining the source selection criteria, how we are going to go through the selection of suppliers, against which criteria. راح نشوفهم also in details, you're going to see some examples. I need the charter because it has pre-approved financial resources, budgets, etc. The business case and the benefit management plan. I need project documents like milestones list to know when to buy and what to buy. The project team assignments needed if I'm going to acquire human resources services. The requirements documentation. Out of these requirements, I need to buy some stuff. عندي project بالبقاع بدي أعلم 600 startup. I need to buy 10 venues. I need to rent 10 venues. Venues بدي اشتري لهم اقلام وفليب charts etc. So those are requirements اللي من خلالهم أنا كinput I need to plan for my buying. The requirements traceability matrix, the resource requirements, the risk register. I need to buy some response strategies for. تتذكروا risk register؟ شو risk response strategy؟ Actively or proactively? If it's proactively, I'm going to buy it ahead of time. If it's reactive, if this risk materials, I need to buy something. Okay. Stakeholder register كمان لأنه suppliers و existing suppliers رح نتعامل معهم هن كمان stakeholders. EEFs like شو في marketplace conditions, سعر الدولار على الليرة, inflation rates, suppliers including past performance or reputation, typical terms and conditions of products and services, unique local requirements. Unique local requirements for USA are different from the unique local requirements of United Arab Emirates. Okay? وبتبين حتى بالسيارات وبالإلكتريسيتي بلاجز حتى بالاير كونديشنينج وكل شيء. Formal procurement policies and procedures from your finance department or procurement department, pre-approved seller list, the wide list of sellers that we can work with. There's also a blacklist for sellers we don't want to deal with. Contract types that we work or we follow in this organization. Contract types. The major 3 categories, the broad families, are fixed price, cost reimbursable, and time and material. شو يعني؟ Fixed price contracts or lump sum or firm fixed price, a total fixed price for a predefined product, service, scope or result is set. هون شغل كتير على السيلر، بده يعرف الاكزاكت برغي وين رايح، the detailed scope كيف ماشي. إذا ما عندنا detailed scope, detailed requirements, Mr. Seller, don't go. Sellers are legally obliged to complete such contracts with possible financial damage if they do not finish the work. Okay. It's used with well-defined scope. So هون الكي term. بالاكزام رح يقولوا لكم مثلا رح يعطوكم سيناريو. The scope statement كذا فيها 300 صفحة كذا وصار شيء كذا كذا كذا. ليش صار هيك؟ لازم تعرفوا انه هيدا كان لازم يكون fixed price مش loss مش cost plus لانه السكوب is well defined. So you know the advantage and the disadvantage of everyone. So it used with well-defined scope. وإذا عندنا وقت نعمل well-defined scope. إذا ما عندي وقت أعمل well-defined scope, don't go fixed price, go cost plus. And the specifications and the requirements are well defined. If the actual costs are more than the agreed upon price, the seller must bear the additional cost. Therefore, the buyer has the least cost risk. All the cost risk is on the seller and the fixed price. Example, هالفيلا بدها تكلفك $1,100,000. هلا sometimes في variations للcontract price. خلينا نحسب الcontract price. خلينا نسميه fixed price plus incentive fee. اوكي، يعني انا بدي ابني جسر من هون لجبال، من الدوره لجبال، اوكي، رح اعطيك عليه $10 billion، بس كل شهر بتخلصه اقل من الاتفاق رح تاخذ انسنتيف $100,000. Okay. So the financial incentive can be adjusted based on the seller's meeting specific performance criteria, such as getting the work done faster, cheaper, better, etc. The final price is calculated as a formula. 3 أشهر وفرت علي from the set date، 3 أشهر ضرب $100,000 $300,000 رح أعطيك $1,100,000 plus $300,000 incentive. Example, to build you this villa, $1,100,000, and for every month early the project is finished, an additional $10,000 is paid for the seller. اللمب sum. So هون في formula الانسنتيف جايه مثل من formula. هون it's a lump sum subjective bonus عم ينعطى للseller. So the buyer pays a fixed price plus an award amount, a bonus based on performance, and the award is paid is judged subjectively. Example, $1,100,000, and for good performance, an additional bonus is awarded ranging from $5,000 to $50,000, and subjectively we're going to assess you if you. Fixed price plus economic price adjustment. هون في fluctuation بالcurrency، في fluctuation بسعر الحديد، بالraw material. أنا بعد أول سنة قادرين نقعد نحكي ونغير نعمل adjustment على السعر. If a contract will cover multi-year period, there will be uncertainties about future economic conditions, future cost of supplies, equipment, fluctuation in currencies, etc. قادرين نرجع نقعد نحكي ونغير أسعار. بتكون موجودة بالكونتراكت. Might be required to provide in circumstances where these are not predictable. Example, contract 1,100,000, but since a price increase will be allowed in year 2 based on US Consumer Price Index report for year 1. يعني نخلص year 1 ننطر report تبع Consumer Index و readjust. Another example هو الحديد مثلا. Contract 1,100,000, but a price increase will be allowed in year 2 to account for increase in حديد cost. The time and material لشو? The buyer pays per hour or per item basis. يعني تخيل هون عم بتجيب عم بتبلط البنايه كلها عم تلبسها بلاط، اوكي، وعم بتقول له للمتعهد جيب لي فتيل بلاط انا بدفعها عند السبلاير تبع البلاط، وانت عندك يوميتك لكل شغيل $20 وانت المعلم $100. This is it. Okay? So it's used for services in which the level of efforts cannot be defined early on. ما عارفين قد ايه بدها وقت. We're not able to plan for it, to estimate it when the contract is awarded. Typically have terms and conditions that are simple to allow quick interventions, quick negotiations for the work to start immediately. Typically have terms and conditions that are simple, best used for small dollar amount. The buyer may put a cap, a no exceed limit لحديت $100,000. يعني بدي اياك تعال تشتغل لي رح ادفع لك لحديت $100,000 بس مجبور تخلص من ال$100,000. يعني تخلص $80,000 تخلص $100,000. نهارين ثلاثه تقعد زياده اعطيك بس. The buyer has medium amount of cost risk compared to cost reimbursable and fixed price contracts. Example, $100 per hour labor plus expenses as and when incurred or material at cost. $100 per hour labor plus material at $5 per linear meter of wood. Material. Another example. Cost reimbursable. It is used when the exact scope of work is uncertain and costs cannot be estimated accurately from day one well enough. The buyer has the most cost risk. Why? نلغم الكواتير. Exactly. في عندنا intensive نزيد لانه عم ناخذ percentage of the cost ونقدر على الباير. The seller provides an estimate هون منه ملزوم مش مثل الفيكس برايس. انا عم بعطيك estimate رح تكلفك تقريبا $900,000 هالفيلا يمكن تكلفك $1,500,000. But it is not binding, it's not legally binding. The following are common forms of cost reimbursable contracts. At cost ما عم بربح, zero profit. The seller receives no fee. Usually done for NGOs, not-for-profit organizations, etc. Example contract is the cost of work at and material at cost. Zero profit. So cost plus percentage fee, or بيسموه also cost plus percentage of cost. It requires the buyer to pay for all costs, في فواتير, plus a percentage of the cost as a fee for the seller. Risk هون fee of inflating costs. يعني بتروح عند تبع الخشب تشتري شغله $100 بتقول له اعمل لي اياها 150. And buyer should carefully monitor and control all costs. ما عندك auditor, ما عندك هون inspector gadget يحقق بكل فاتوره او انت تشتري material, don't go. Cost plus percentage. Example contract at equals cost plus 10% of the cost as my fee. I am the seller. أكثر شيء ريسكي على الباير. هلا بدنا نظبط شوي الريسك، بدنا نوطي الريسك. نجي بنقول خلينا نعمله خيي كوست بلس فيكس في، ما بديش percentage of the cost. فيكس في خيي. Provides for payment to the seller of actual costs incurred plus a lump sum amount, a negotiated fee in advance that is fixed. The fee does not vary with the actual costs. ما إلها عليها. Thus, the seller does not have the incentive to increase or inflate costs or buy things, unnecessary things. Example, contract equals estimated cost plus my fee $100,000. هلا بدنا نوطي أكثر الريسك. عم نحط cost plus incentive fee. مش lump sum amount حتى. The seller is paid for the actual cost plus a fee that will be adjusted whether the specific performance objectives were met or not. وبيكونوا بالcontract موجودين وواضحين. The seller gets a percentage of the savings if the actual costs are less and might get a percentage of the overrun كpenalty إذا حرق البادجت أو estimated cost. So متفقين إنه estimated cost $100,000. اذا طلعوا $80,000 رح اعطيك 20% عن السيفنجز. قد ايه وفر علي؟ $20,000 رح اعطيك 20% من $20,000 كإنسان. اتفقنا يكلفنا الفيلا مليون، كلفتني $1,200,000. رح اخصم منك 20% من $200,000. ويوجولي بيتفقوا على ريشيو. It is often 80-20. 80% for the buyer, 20% for the seller. Example, contract $500,000 target cost, estimated cost. Our target cost $500,000 plus $50,000 your fee, your target fee. وقت يجي وقت الحساب في حكيتين. The buyer and the seller share any cost savings or overruns at 80% to the buyer, 20% to the seller. Cost plus award fee، لكن هذيك كان اسمها cost plus incentive fee. دائما الانسنتيف كلمة حلوة. Cost plus award fee هيدي كمان subjective. Buyer pays all costs and a base fee plus an award amount, a bonus, a subjective bonus based on performance. This is similar to cost plus incentive fee, except the incentive is a potential award. Potential. No penalty هون. هذاك فيه penalty incentive fee. هون ما في penalty. هون مجبور اعطيك 50,000 وانا اذا حبيت حبة المسك زد له اياها كبونus. Procedures must be in place for giving the award, and a board or a committee is established to make the decision regarding when and how much. Example, cost plus a base fee plus يعني مليون target cost $50,000 your target fee plus an award for meeting the buyer's specified performance criteria. The maximum amount فيها تكون حاطين لك كاب.
غير ال 50.
ايه غير التارجت فيس تبعه ال 50,000 نحن بنقرر اذا حتي $10,000 زياده. شو الادفانتج والديزادفانتج تبع كل وحده؟ الفيكست اور لامب سم advantages انه less work for the buyer. شغله السيلر يفوت بالتفاصيل السكوب والريكوايرمنتس ويعمل statement of work بتفاصيلها. The seller has a strong incentive to control all costs. ليش؟ لانه البايع بده يعمل ربح بكل دولار عم بيوفره. لانه في cost plus fee equals price والباير ما عارف شو هو الفي. Companies have more experience with this type of contract. It's the most common. The buyer knows the total price before the work begins. عارف قد ايه اللي حتكلفني irrespective. يعني انا رحت زبطت موتويتي، شو قال لي الميكانيسيان؟ قال لي انا لو عارف انه اذا بدي افرض كل الموتور توصل على البوجيات ما كنت اعطيتك هالسعر. سوري كنت اعطيتني هالسعر. اوكي نفس الشيء هون. Disadvantages if the seller underpriced. If the seller underpriced, they might charge more كvariation order كchange requests. هيدا disadvantage. وفي disadvantage أعلى إنه the seller may try not to complete the work or cut corners على حساب الكواليتي وعلى حساب الشغل. بده وقت كتير للباير to draft the contract or the statement of work. What is more expensive as the seller might add to the price. اللي حكيته example على PwC وعلى branches إنه عم زيد أنا buffer للريسك. Time and material advantages can be created quickly. عطولي حدا بكرة. Okay? Because the statements of work may be less detailed or non-existent even. The contract duration is brief, and this is a good choice when you are hiring people or bringing people to augment your staff. Disadvantage إنه في profit بكل ساعة عم تنحط على البروجكت. The seller has no incentive to control any costs. لأنه هو عم يقبض على الساعة. This contract type is appropriate only for small level of efforts on projects. This contract type requires a great deal of day-to-day oversight from the buyer. Time sheet بالساعة. Okay. Cost reimbursable contracts. Advantages allow for a simpler procurement statement of work. مش ضروري تكون دقيقة كتير. usually requires less work to define the scope. خلينا نبلش هلا الفيلا وبنشوف نشتري لها بلاط بنشوف قد ايه كلف نرجع نشتري لها الومنيوم بنشوف قد ايه كلف. Generally less costly than the firm fixed price because the seller does not have to add as much for risks because they are getting their fees separate. Disadvantages requires auditing sellers' invoices. So بدها وقت ومصاري للauditing. More work for the buyer to manage the contract, to control and manage the contract. And the seller has only a moderate incentive to control costs. So معقولة يفلت الملق when it comes to buying things. And the total price is unknown from day one. Those are the disadvantages. شو عم بتقلكن هيدي الجراف؟ هيدا الباير أعلى cost risk على الباير هو cost plus percentage of cost. وأوطى risk على seller هيدا الشيء. وأعلى cost risk على السيلر أي هيدا السيلر أعلى cost الفيكس برايس. cost risk على السيلر. Tools and techniques to plan for procurement. Expert judgment to develop the criteria. يعني نجيب حدا تعملنا شو الكرايتيريا تنعرف ننقي أي supplier specifically on large, big, complex projects that will be used to evaluate our proposals عم يجونا من suppliers. Such judgment includes business, legal, and technical expertise. It can be applied to both the technical and to various aspects of the procurement management processes. يعني technical statement of work with general bidding procedures. كيف البروسيس لازم يكون. In this example, for example, hiring a consulting firm to write for us a request for proposal, RFP, to shortlist vendors for us, selecting 3 and facilitating presentations, demonstrations, negotiations, and probably post-implementation assurance. So هون بيجي الexpert judgment بهالarea. Data gathering techniques, the examination of industry-specific vendor capabilities. وهون بنفوت بتفاصيل البرغي والspecifications والrequirements والquality etc. And the procurement teams may leverage information gained at press conferences or conferences, online reviews, and variety of sources to identify the market capabilities. Data analysis techniques in the form of make or buy analysis, and it should consider all related costs, both direct costs as well as indirect costs. Meetings, some research alone is not enough. I might meet with potential suppliers to see what's available and what procurement strategy I should follow on the project. So I use these meetings to interchange information regarding what's available and what's the approach, etc., before I go into a bidding process. Source selection criteria or analysis. This is an evaluation method for bidders' know-how. They will be evaluated on these criteria. Commonly used, those selection methods might include the following criteria: the least cost, وبعطيها weight, qualifications, CVs, etc., experience, بعطيها weight, quality-based highest technical proposal score, quality and cost-based, if they are a sole source or not, etc. So based on what I'm going to shortlist or select the potential suppliers based on this source selection criteria. Target price. This term is often used to compare the end result of the project with what was expected. The target price is a measure of success, and the target price is equal to target cost plus target fee. This does not mean the actual fee was paid as such. It depends on the incentive and the award, on the points of total assumption, on failure, on success. Sharing ratio, شفناه قبل بالcost plus incentive fee, describes how the cost saving or overrun will be shared with the seller buyer. Example 80-20. When sometimes in the exam they give you this ratio 80-20, ما بيعطوكوا ال 80 لمين و 20 لمين. Always assume the highest is for the buyer. 50-50 you don't have a problem with. Okay? So incentive 80% for the buyer, 20% for the seller. Ceiling price is the highest price the buyer will pay. Exercise. In this cost plus incentive fee contract, the cost is estimated at $210,000 and the fee at $25,000. يعني التارجت cost 210,000, التارجت fee 25,000. The project is over and the buyer has agreed that the costs were in fact $200,000. Because the seller's cost came in lower than the estimated costs, the seller shares in the savings are 80% to the buyer and 20% to the seller. Calculate the final fee and final price. Typical exam question. Target cost a day. Target fee. Target price. Hey plus hey. Cost plus fee. Price is cost plus fee. Actual cost. 200. So the final fee is بدي شوف أنا قد إيه وفر علي. وفر علي 210 target cost ناقص actual cost 200. وفر علي 10,000. هال 10,000 رح أعطي عليها 20% incentive يعني 2000. يعني التارجت فيه هي 25,000. أنا عم بقول هي 25,000 التارجت فيه بلس the incentive 2000 يعني 27,000. لكن الفاينل فيه 27,000 زيد على actual cost تطلع final price. يعني actual cost قد ايه؟ 210. 200. سوري 200 ناقص الفاينل فيه 27 بلس 27,000 227,000. نعيدها؟ هون في غلط هاي 200. بيطلع procurement strategy to determine the delivery method of the project, the type of legal binding agreements, and how the procurement will advance, will go through the procurement phases. بيطلع the procurement management plan, which is a component of the project management plan that describes how the project team will acquire the goods and services from outside, and it also describes how the procurement processes will be managed from developing procurement documents through contract closure. وبيطلع statement of work, procurement statement of work, based on the scope statement. يعني هي عادة شقفة من scope statement. And the procurement statement of work describes what work will be completed under the contract. Bidding documents كمان بيطلعوا هون. Guys, مش بالexecution بنعمل request for proposal. بالplanning بنعمل request for proposal. It's a tricky question. بيطلع كمان غير statement procurement statement of work procurement plan بيطلع the source selection criteria which could be part of the plan يعني بس إني حطوها output لوحدها. كمان بيطلع make or buy decisions بيطلع change requests. Decisions during procurement planning can create the need for additional change requests, for example, to the risk management plan or to the statement of work. بيطلع independent cost estimates where we bring an outside professional estimator to serve as a benchmark for the proposals that we will be getting. بيطلع project document updates, lessons learned. Next time, don't go into fixed price when you have something due, time and material, etc. بيطلع milestones list لأنه بالprocurement planning تغيرت إمتى بدنا نشتري تغيرت milestones. بيطلع requirements documentation updates بيطلع updates على ال traceability matrix, risk register و stakeholder register. بيطلع updates على some updates على qualified sellers, whitelist, blacklist of sellers. What if there is only one seller or you want to work with an existing company you have worked with before. Yes, you can go non-competitive form of procurement if the project is under extreme schedule pressure, or the seller has unique qualifications, ما حدا غيره عنده إياها, or the seller is only one seller ما في غيره ببيع, or a seller holds a patent or copyrights كمان sole source.